like Breonna Taylor was on the ballot in Kentucky. And so I wanted to invite someone on. I hope she can hear me. Can you hear me? Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Is a mic on? Is a mic sounding nice?
It's
Because
on now.
yes, because sometimes, y'all, we've been talking about this leadership. Leadership happens, when you see a need and you feel it, and you don't have to do all things. You just need to do sometimes just one thing. And this woman committed herself to making sure Daniel Cameron would not sit in that governor's mansion. She created a whole organization around it. She's been campaigning against him from day one since this man announced. Matter of fact, let's play a clip, Smiz, of the great Tamika Mallory talking about Daniel Cameron. Play it.
Daniel Cameron, he mentioned at the press conference, which I thought was quite interesting, that he's a black man. And as I laid and cried and hurt for Tamika Palmer and for Breonna Taylor and for Kenny Walker and for Janiyah, who we need to love up on. As I laid there and I thought about him saying he's a black man, I thought about the ships that went into Fort Monroe and Jamestown with our people on them over 400 years ago, and how there were also black men on those ships that were responsible for bringing our people over here. Daniel Cameron is no different than the sellout Negroes that sold our people into slavery and helped white men to capture our people, to abuse them and to traffic them while our women were raped, while our men were raped by savages. That is who you are, Daniel Cameron. You are a coward. You are a sellout. And you were used by the system to harm your own mama, your own mama.
Yes, yes. Tamika Mallory, Until Freedom, the entire movement. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Tamika Mallory, hi.
Hey, Karen. Back. It's good to see you.
Good to be seen. Good to see you. I want to say congratulations, but I just feel like you do what you've been doing. You've been doing it, without a whole lot of, rah-rah just out there. I did want to kind of understand the strategy, because it's all strategy, political strategy, it's social movement strategy. Why was this very important for you? And then what was the strategy to make sure that this man wouldn't sit in that office?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for having me on today. I'm here representing Until Freedom. And it's interesting that the national media, in their coverage of what took place in Kentucky and around the country, and specifically Kentucky, they seem to leave out Breonna Taylor. And I think it's important that you are highlighting her today as one of the deciding factors for voters, in the state of Kentucky. And so I appreciate you for doing that. The strategy is so important because, as you know, for 30 plus years of my life, I've been an organizer. I've been out here on the ground. We started Until Freedom in 2019. And one of the first projects that we took on, one of the first cases, was Breonna Taylor. We moved to Kentucky for 4 months protesting during the summer of 2020 for Breonna, and really sort of built an entire movement, an international movement around her. It wasn't our first activity, because the first thing, if you remember, we were outside of a Brooklyn federal detention center when some of the incarcerated individuals didn't have food, didn't have heat, didn't have hot water.
Because the power was turned off.
They had a power outage, and we were told by the officials in the state that it was going to take 3 or 4 days. But because we raised so much hell and moved ourselves outside the jail and had every elected official on the phone coming by the jail, somehow or another, they found a way to get the power turned on in less than 24 hours. So we know there's power in protest. And we did that for Breonna. We stood with her family and the community, the local community. I have to shout them out, because without them, we would not have been able to accomplish any of our work, because it was the people power, the people in the streets in 2020. And it has continued. There have been marches and things that may not be covered by mainstream media or anybody else, but the people in Kentucky have continued to show up for Breonna over these last 3.5 years. We said to folks that we had to make sure that our protest did not end there and that it also translates into political power. And so in the state of Kentucky, we were also able to help a representative get elected, a sister by the name of Katora Haran. She was working for the ACLU and working on banning no-knock warrants after Breonna Taylor was killed. And we were able to help her to become a state rep. And there have been others to run for office. In fact, the one of the city council representatives that won in this same election yesterday is a woman by the name of Shamika Parrish Wright, who is an organizer from Kentucky who's now on the city council. And there are not many Black people on the Louisville City Council. So we have helped folks. And the judge that initially signed the warrant for Breonna Taylor's home, where it was a lie. We all know this because the feds are now have indicted and are in the process of prosecuting officers for the lies that they told on that warrant. That judge that signed the warrant, we unseated her and put a Black woman, Sister Tracy, in her position. So we have connected the protest to political power. And when Daniel Cameron decided, every time I go home from Kentucky, I say, that's it. We did this. We're done. We're going to go home. You know, we worked on this project. We did this campaign. We led it. And now we're going to go home. And every single time something keeps calling me, something keeps calling me back to Kentucky. And in this particular situation, when Daniel Cameron, after having done Breonna Taylor, family, the jurors who said that once the grand jury concluded and they had not been presented with charges for the murder of Breonna Taylor, chaos erupted in the room. The jurors said that, not Tamika Mallory. The jurors came forward and said we went crazy because we were waiting for a case to be presented to us for the murder of Breonna Taylor, and it never happened. And he lied. Daniel Cameron said the jurors did not find charges, that they agreed that there was justification in the deadly force of what happened that evening. And so when he said he was running for governor, we said, hell no. And Tamika, I like to make the joke that Tamika Palmer, Breonna's mother, she and I spell our names the exact same way. And I said, when you upset not one, but two Tamikas, you got hell on your hands, because we went to work from the day he announced his candidacy until yesterday, and we beat his ass and sent him back to his house. He has no job at this point, so he can go figure it out.
Yes, and he should be sat down somewhere and consider his whole entire existence and what his purpose is. Tamika Mallory, Until Freedom. What was the call for that name? What did that mean? Why Until Freedom? And then is Until Freedom going to be unleashed state to state? What we doing?
It's, so many people have asked us, and Karen, I've been in movements with chapters. I was in the National Action Network, was executive director. So I have led movements and, of course, organizations on so many different levels. I know all the ins and outs of organizing and of how organizations work. And Until Freedom, since we started in 2019 and we jumped immediately into this massive campaign and working with George Floyd's family and working with Ahmaud Arbery's family and working on other DEI campaigns, we've been so busy that we've been keeping it close and tight and staying with a very effective group of people. We took 40 individuals down to Kentucky to live with us at different times. People stayed throughout the pandemic to help us with the struggle. And so all of those individuals have stayed engaged, some of them celebrities, others are in sports, entertainment, lawyers, pastors, mainly younger folks. And some of them much younger than me. And we've sort of stayed in a tight-knit family. But I think after, of course, everybody wants to call me. Everybody's calling for some reason or another. As soon as I get on the phone with you, before I called you, no one called my phone all day. But once I logged in, here we go. But anyway, now that we see a lot of things happening across this nation and people are reaching out and they're like, please bring Until Freedom here. And at least teach us, which is something that we do. One of our pillars is training folks on how to go from protest to politics and how to advocate for themselves and their communities. And so we will probably be quickly, as of January, out here across the country helping to train some groups and just everyday people on how to mimic or copy, if you will, the greatness that has happened in Kentucky.
Yes. I'm so incredible. I always say, you know, we all live someplace. And when I think about the propulsion of movements, it's always the people behind the scenes that don't get a lot of credit, because you need someone that's going to organize. So it's the Ella Bakers, it's, you know, the Bayard Rustins, it's the folk that aren't necessarily in the forefront, but all of the things get done because of them. And so I see you in a similar position, but I also love, like, let's tweak this a little bit from protest to power. You know, not just politics, because politics
Absolutely.
is just, protest to power. I feel like that seems to be the gap. We are good with getting out in them streets, and then we get tired, or they beat us back. You know, it gets really hot and heavy, and you're exhausted. And then it's like, now I got to get out here and do what now? So to have kind of like the strategy where somebody picks up the baton so it never stops. But also maybe you work with Cliff and Latasha and you know, Georgia.
We worked together in Kentucky because Cliff and Latasha at Black Voters Matter put out an ad just days before the election where they said all skin folks ain't your kin folks. And they made sure that Uncle Danny, because that's what they called him in the ad, they made sure the people knew who he is and that he is not to become governor just because he's Black. Because there's a lot of people who were planning to vote for him. In fact, there are elected officials who claim to stand with Breonna Taylor's family, who wrote letters and put ads in the paper and went out and advocated for him and said Breonna was one bad thing, but that if you look at the overall piece, the overall picture, he would have been the first Black governor, and we should still support him. And so we definitely are doing that work. And I just want to say on the issue of the language, which I like, protest to power. I love that because it means so much more than just politics. I mean, you got your economic development arm. You have so many other advocacy pieces in that power. But the reason why we say politics is because so many of our people are politics adverse. It's like as soon as you start talking about voting, folks like, you know, it's like a scary thing to hear. And so, you know, I want to make sure that folks are clear. Again, I'm not against it. I think what you're saying is better. It increases the value and expands opportunity for more partnership and more growth and more education and more advocacy. But we have been saying politics specifically because people need to be on top of the politics of their community. We cannot complain. We cannot march. We cannot yell, scream, tweet, write, Instagram, blog, cuss people out, do all of that, and then not have some say at the table in terms of who is elected to office in our nation. That cannot continue. We have to have our voice, and it doesn't. Listen, Andy Beshear, I don't live in Kentucky, so I can't say much about Andy Beshear. He seems to be a nice guy, but based upon what I've heard from local folks, he is not the most progressive. He's not the best candidate. And I don't think that's what politics are about, finding the person that you agree with on every position. But sometimes things it's principle. It's a principle in it. So Daniel Cameron just couldn't be governor. Period. He just couldn't be governor. That's just the bottom line. Now we need to figure out what Black woman or what other Black person who has a commitment to our communities and our issues and has the ability to galvanize the state and bring people in from all over the state. I mean, if you listen to what Andy Beshear said last night, I stood there and I listened to his speech, and I was listening very closely to see what he would say as he accepted office again, or, you know, his what do you call it, victory speech. And he started talking about something very important, because now Daniel Cameron used Donald Trump's endorsement as a part of his campaign. But Joe Biden did not, as far as I know, endorse Andy Beshear or publicly do anything for him. He never came to the state to support Andy Beshear. And when I listened to Andy, I realized it's possible that he may not have wanted him there, because he said, this is not about Democrats and Republicans. It's not about parties. It's not about division of separation of issues or whatever. He said it's all people. He almost sounded like an independent last night. I mean, he literally had the sound of somebody who understands that people are tired of being divided by a two-party system, and therefore we have to move to something different. So I understand that folks going to say, well, I don't like this one and that one. Cool. Some things are principle, but then after we build a base, after we know the people are with us, now what do we do with them? And I think that's when you speak about power, that's what we got to be talking about.
Tamika Mallory is here, the founder, creator, power base behind Until Freedom. As you're talking, I'm also thinking about, the 2024 election. And I'm hearing a lot of folk, no tangibles, no vote. But I'm like, how do you get tangibles if you don't vote? Like, tangibles come because you force elected officials to do what you tell them to do. I think about Lyndon Baines Johnson not wanting to do any of them civil rights movement era amendments, and not wanting to push forth a lot of things. Adam Clayton Powell had him hemmed up on one side, and of course Martin Luther King and others had him hemmed up on the other side. He didn't really have a choice but to gather his good people to sign these things. It wasn't because he wanted to. This man from Texas, from a certain, generation, we have to have our power to be able to force folk to do. If we send them someplace, then they have to do our bidding, and we can't just vote and then walk away and go home and think 4 years later they come show up at our church. Okay, I guess I'll vote for. This is a 24-hour. This is a everyday experience, being a participant in your own life.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough conversation for me because I grew up in this movement a long time. And so I have a lot of respect for my elders, a lot of respect for other organizers. And when I see people who are not being as forceful as they should be, I could use some other language, but I'll just say not being as forceful as they could be, or not holding folks accountable, or not working together and collaborating with other groups and people who need to be in the room. It saddens me because I know that the power is right in that. Like, right in that area is where we are missing out on the opportunity to force these elected officials to use their power for our issues. But we have such divisions, within the ways in which we think, our theories of change, and how we move sometimes. And I hope that now we see Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes, who's taken over Rainbow Push. If you haven't had him on, please do.
Well, he's in Nubia. He's in Nubia with Reverend Jeremiah Wright, so we get to commune with Reverend Haynes quite frequently, and he is everything. And I will definitely be having him on the show for sure.
And I think now that we have him in position, we've got young sister named Tiffany Lofton, who's working.
Tiffany D. Lofton.
Tiffany D.
Yes.
Lofton, that's one of my mentees, but I feel like she mentors me. But she is working to organize the Delta workers for their labor movement. I mean, you have some strong people out here, Reverend Stephen Green, and I think that as we start to see a newer sort of, more different, let me say different, because again, I would not sit here and discount the work that has been done. I think people have done tremendous work on behalf of our community, but I think it is time for us to usher in a new group. And I'm not even talking about myself. I feel like at 43 years old, I'm kind of moving into an elder statesman's role as well, where I am here to train, to counsel, and to provide some history lessons from things of the past for some of these younger voices. And not that Freddie and I are old together, but he's at least new to
new to this,
new to the Rainbow Push.
Right.
Exactly. I think we're going to see something different because I know they communicate and they're looking at ways to collaborate. And in fact, I'm on my way to a March for Gaza at the United Nations mission, where Dr. King stood to protest the Vietnam War. And as I head there, I can tell you that there are people coming together around a variety of issues that we have not seen work together before. And I think the boldness of our youth and of this younger generation of leaders is helping to push some of us, the older folks, closer to a more progressive and a more courageous side of the conversation. Yes. So I hope that works. I truly do.
Yeah, no, listen, it's been kind of the frustration I have, because if you have access to the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States and the people in the corporate America that make decisions, and you don't press them to do more for all of us, not just you individually, then you shouldn't be in that position. And I feel like at some point it's also lazy on the part of politicians to just go to the same people thinking that they've checked the box when they're about to F around and find out that that's not the box. The box is out here. It's we the people. You think by going to this one individual, Black people move in many different ways. Absolutely. And you're going to have to figure out how to create a bigger tent for your capacity and not just go be lazy and go to one or two people, because that's what's been done for the last 50 years. Stop doing that, or you're going to F around and find out in November. That's how I feel. But Tiffany, Tamika, you got Tiffany out here. Can you take a call? Because I know you're on your way. What state are you in?
Yeah.
Where's this march? Where's the march? Okay, one call. All right. Kids in Georgia, you're up. You're the one call. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. You're on with Tamika Mallory. Hi.
Today must be my lucky day. Hi, Karen. Hi, Tamika. I love you, Karen, and I love this young lady. I saw her several years ago in Bethany Baptist over there on Sumner Avenue, and I was floored. This young lady is way behind her time. I can't wait till you make history, young lady. Run for president. You are so powerful, so young. I don't even know how that happened, but I love you so much. I'm in Georgia. And when I heard Tamika Mallory, I said, oh my God, because I approached you there. One of the guys from New Edition was at the church. I forgot what it was about, because I'm an activist myself from New York. But you are one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I'm going to tell you that. You are wonderful, young lady. You are wonderful. And may God continue to bless you and give you strength to do what you're doing for Black people. Because you need a whole lot more of you. You are powerful.
Well, thank you so much, sis. And please keep praying for me. As we, Karen, the last few days in Kentucky. Well, first of all, the entire time we've been there since September, when we first moved back after Labor Day, we've been getting death threats. They've been specifically against me. And the last few days before, because the trial for one of the officers is going on at the same time while this election is happening. So the white supremacists and some of the Black folks that ain't got good sense too. And I know that because one woman had the audacity as a Black woman to put her face on the internet saying that she wished that, they had taken me out, that she wished that whoever made the threat against me, that they were successful. And so, it's a lot. It's no joke being out here, being a Black woman, daring to speak up. And so the support of the caller, the support of you, Karen, and others is so important. It's so necessary and it's so needed. And when people tell me they're praying for me, I believe it, because no matter what weapon seems to form, it never prospers against me. And I know that's because of praying women, especially, but praying people who are on my side.
You better say all of that. Well, you are covered in the precious blood, Miss Tamika Mallory, as you're out there, because you are doing a work that is inspired beyond your own physical capacity. So continue. Let us know. Always, check in. I'm always going to check in on you. And I'm incredibly happy that you are sitting in this seat, and give everybody a hug. I appreciate you coming through today on your way.
Thank you.
Love you, Tamika Mallory. Follow her movement, and we're going to talk more about it when we come back. Until freedom, y'all, because we're not going to stop until we all are free.
Thank you.
Yes, as we say. Thank you.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves thing is the one